The Congresswoman, along with the Mayor and Councilman Parker. Ms. Moore will also be talking about what we discussed during the briefing this afternoon on where things stand with the cleanup and the process moving forward. So, Congresswoman.
Thank you all for being here. I want to thank all of the stakeholders and elected officials and community organizers and activists that were attending today's briefing. In summary, this is an ongoing problem. North Birmingham, the environmental Superfund site on 35th Avenue is a problem that has been ongoing, and the EPA has been on the scene since 2014. And just wanted to say, because it's an ongoing problem, we just want people to reiterate that we have an ongoing commitment from all the stakeholders to do all we can to not only remove but remediate and to bring economic revitalization to North Birmingham. That's a commitment that all of us have. In today's briefing, we were briefed by Franklin Hill, who will speak momentarily, who is the Superfund director for Region 4. Which includes 8 states, including Alabama. And the update that we received today was that the study site of 2,000 or more properties revealed 390 sites that have had removal, 127 more sites that need removal. We were able to get a commitment from the EPA that, notwithstanding the fact that we are not a national priority list site, that we still will get the 127 sites that still need removal removed. What's concerning all of us is the fact that there are 500 or so sites that are either abandoned properties or people refuse to allow the EPA to come on and to remove from those sites. And so one of the things we talked about was trying to get all the stakeholders involved in a commitment to trying to get the public confidence back into allowing us to go on, allowing the EPA to go on site and to do the removal. I think it's critically important that we have active members of the community engaged in trying to make sure that we do all we can to address the sites that have been identified and getting them removed. So I just want to thank the EPA for being a part of today's briefing and to brief our stakeholders. I want to thank the mayor and for all of the resources that he's provided and for his commitment on this, and we'll allow the mayor to speak right now.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Listen, the people you see standing behind me, collectively, we are, as elected officials, we represent the citizens and residents, the families, the children, our seniors of North Birmingham. There are real, tangible issues here that have affected people where they live, where they eat, where they sleep every single day. I'm happy that the EPA is here, who have apprised us of a briefing and update of the ongoing cleanup of this site. I like the 2 words of removal and remediation, and I am glad for the information they've shared. But what we're committed to is making sure that, based on everything that's happened, that this area continues to get the resources, focus, and attention it needs to make sure that the residents here, where they live, are safe. It's not much to add to that, but to say that what the EPA is doing, they're not the only ones responsible for this cleanup site. There will have to be other federal agencies, state agencies that will have to partner with us to make sure the residents get the care and attention and concern they need. Thank you.
So I think that, Franklin, if you don't mind giving a brief overview of what you guys have been working on for the EPA, we'd be most appreciative. This is Franklin Hill, who is the director of the Superfund site for Region 4.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you, Congresswoman Sewell and Mayor Woodford, and the elected officials who stand behind me. We did spend a significant amount of time this morning talking about the effort that's been ongoing in this community now since 2014. And that specifically relates to the activities that we've been conducting around the residential properties in the Harriman Park, Collegeville, and Fairmont areas. We have assessed over 2,000 properties in this community. We have cleaned up a substantial number of those properties. I think the number's around 390. We're still in the assessment phase where we're sampling properties. We are asking for access to get onto those properties, and what I will say to you is that the commitment is still here from the agency to address this area and the risk in this area to the folks of Collegeville, Fairmont, and Harriman, or North Birmingham. The commitment is still here from the agency for us to do that job and do it in a comprehensive way. What I am encouraged about is the support that we received this morning from the elected officials who are here to help us bring the additional resources we need to bring to bear to do this in a comprehensive way. That is our goal, is to make this as comprehensive as we possibly can and to address the threat to human health and the environment. So thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Representative Mary Moore, and I've lived in this area all of my life. My family has been here all of their lives. And I come to you as the organizer of the framework plan, and I'll explain that to you. The framework plan for the North Birmingham community is, we've come up with a plan to revitalize the area. Within the framework, we include the information concerning the pollution and the contamination problem. But the goal of the framework plan is to revitalize the 6 neighborhoods that make up North Birmingham. And we must define that, because so often when you say North Birmingham, you include all other communities around it. But there are only 6 neighborhoods that compose the North Birmingham community. And with the help of all elected officials, with the help of the health department, because we know that EPA and all that it has done, it is limited. And we do need health department to come in. And I want to use this opportunity to challenge them to be a part of the group that's behind me that is committed to not only cleaning up the North Birmingham neighborhoods, but also committed to the revitalization and to restore the neighborhood to a viable neighborhood where people would want to live as well as work in. Thank you for the opportunity.
Let me say thank you to everyone and ask Mr. Hilliard, my colleague from the City Council, to join. Just in simply saying we appreciate the EPA. Thank you, Mr. Hill. Thank you, EPA. Thank all of our partners, community stakeholders. We look at this as an opportunity, not as a challenge. And so we are going to roll up our sleeves. We're going to work collaboratively. And I can truly say that North Birmingham community's best days are yet to come. And so we're excited about the opportunities moving forward. And so we're going to be working very diligently as a group collectively moving this area forward. So, Mr. Hilliard.
Well, thank you, Councilman Parker, and to all of the stakeholders in the North Birmingham area. It is just very important that we continue to rally together to keep pushing for this effort. And I want to thank everyone for coming out, and I thank you for allowing us to be involved in it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm State Senator Linda Coleman Madison, and I represent the North Birmingham as well as the Tarrant area. I just want to thank, first of all of you for coming out. This is a united front. There's a lot that has been going on since this whole process started some years ago. But it's all about the health, welfare, and safety of the community, and not just about the people that live here right now. We are talking about generations to come. We're talking about the children that are over in Hudson Elementary School in Carver that live in this community and will have children, and whatever is there is going to be passed on. So we do want to engage the health department to get involved to help us with this. We stand as a united front. Those of us who are elected officials and those community leaders that are out there that live and see this every day. But we need everyone to come together, join forces, and work together so that we can resolve the issue. I am concerned about those properties that have not been tested. And we understand that there's an issue of trust in many of our communities and residents. But we implore you to join forces with us. We are here to work with you and moving forward to resolve the problem. And we will be here. Our numbers, we are open to the public to contact all of us so that we can meet with you to get your property tested to find out if there are contaminants on your property that might be mitigated. We're saying that we want to remove, but not just to remove, but to mitigate. We have a beautiful community. Birmingham has a saying that you don't have to move to live in a better place. And we believe that North Birmingham and the north area of Birmingham can be such. So thank you all for your support today.
So in closing, we just want to thank all of you. Today was just one of several briefings that EPA has given us over the years and will continue to provide for us. But as was said, this is actually a show of force. It's not just an EPA problem. This is a problem. The cleanup will take the concerted effort of the state, local, federal agencies, but also the community. And so once again, I issue a plea for those sites that have not been tested. We understand that some of the citizens may be distrustful, but it's important for us, in order to truly have a cleanup effort that is comprehensive, that we get those that are not tested, those sites that have not been tested, and we stand ready to help in that process in whatever way we can. I want to thank the mayor and the state and local reps, as well as our superintendent, who is here as well, Public Schools of Birmingham, and Doug Jones's office is being represented by their statewide director. This is truly a united front, just showing that we are elected officials that care about what's going on in North Birmingham, and we'll do all that we can. We can answer a few questions, and I don't know, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Franklin, if you want to come and help me answer the questions.
Councilman Sewell, maybe a two-part question here. One thing you said is sort of notwithstanding the NPL designation. What are you doing in Congress? What are you folks doing here locally to make sure you make enough noise to get that NPL status? That was the subject of a trial we don't want to talk about here, but obviously that was the centerpiece of the whole thing, trying to get the maximum amount of help. What are you going to do about that?
So just to be clear, the Superfund, the cleanup effort that has been endured thus far has been paid for by taxpayers' money. It's been congressionally appropriated money through the Superfund. I think last year, Superfund for 2018, we appropriated $1 billion as a Congress to do that. But my job, representing North Birmingham and the citizens of the 7th Congressional District, is to ensure that the resources that have been appropriated to the EPA, to Region 4, gets to the people who need it most in my district. Clearly, North Birmingham is that. And I think that Director Hill could probably speak to how much money has been poured in to the removal process from the federal government.
Thank you, Congresswoman Sewell. And I would say that your answer hit the target from the standpoint of providing the resources for the region to address this issue. Currently, we've invested about $20 million into this cleanup, and we're still committed to investing additional resources into the cleanup to address the remaining properties.
How much more, forgive me, but how much more would the NPL designation mean? Obviously, that's a big stake. That would be millions and millions more, am I missing something?
Well, I think you are, and I think from an NPL designation standpoint, what that means is that the site would qualify for funding from the remedial action funding budget. But what we're doing here to address this site using our removal authority versus remedial authority is consistent from a cleanup standpoint. The two designations and the two authorities only means that money comes from different authorizations. But from a cleanup perspective, there is no difference in what we're doing under the removal authority here than we would do under remedial. So the protectiveness aspect of our cleanup is consistent with remedial. The NPL designation only means that it is in the queue for long-term funding from a construction standpoint. But right now, that funding stream is available and is providing those resources to conduct the assessment and cleanup in the neighborhood right now as we speak. So the NPL designation doesn't necessarily mean that a company is directly responsible. That's a liability scheme, and that liability scheme applies also to removal. So the entities that we've identified from a potentially responsible party standpoint, will still be responsible and are still potentially responsible parties as it relates to our removal authority. So we will continue to pursue those entities as well for cost recovery.
Have any of those companies paid any money to this point, and what's the process to see if any company does pay them?
So to be clear, the only money that has been spent to remove, for the removal process has been federal funds coming from the EPA. No potential responsible party has given any resources towards this cleanup. So I think that it would be important for us to get these federal taxpayer dollars back from these potentially responsible parties. They have not stepped up to the plate today, so the only resources that have been expended in removal thus far has been from the EPA. I also want to make very clear that the EPA's authority is under something called the Comprehensive Environmental Response Compensation and Liability Act, of 1980, which gives them two authorities: to remove, which is fully funded by the federal government, and if there's an immediate necessity as shown by their investigation, then they can start that removal process immediately and use federal funds immediately and seek compensation from liable parties later down the road, or remediation. And remediation requires this national priorities list designation. And that also would be a cost-sharing scheme between the federal government and the state government. So in order to actually get on the national priorities list, not only do we have to request that we do that, a request was made in 2014 that was not approved. And we've renewed that request. The mayor has renewed that request as well. But the reality is that has to be approved by the governor in the state of Alabama, because it then would go to a cost-sharing scheme that the state and federal would then bore and seek compensation from those potentially responsible parties. So the path that has actually been pursued thus far has been a removal path, totally within jurisdiction of EPA, to actually provide immediate relief to those identified properties that removal needs to be done, and they've been doing that to the tune of $20 million. I'm just happy that even in the midst of our controversy over the MPL, that the EPA has continued to work towards removal and remediation. And as Mr. Hill, Director Hill just said, they've been doing that notwithstanding the fact that we're not on a national priorities list.
So what is actually next for the residents of North Birmingham, this area? There are people who may not have had their soil tested because of that distrust. What steps do they need to take, and what does it really mean for them? We've heard talk about property values, quality of life. Speak to that.
Sure. You want?
Ms. Mayor?
I think the next steps are to continue to have a conversation with EPA. Based on our briefing, there are still properties, residential properties, that have not been tested for various reasons. You heard one mention trust. You heard another mention where it's possible an absentee owner, et cetera. So we got to make sure whatever we can do in conjunction with our federal partners and EPA, that we directly engage our residents to make sure they want to get their soil tested. There's some other conversations, which you see the superintendent here, that we are going to directly engage and want to receive additional information from EPA as it relates to remediation and or removal as it relates to Hudson School, as well as Collegeville Public Housing, and other areas as it relates to these single-family housing you see around here. And so these are not only continued conversations, but from listening to EPA, he then challenges us to say, we need your assistance in engaging your residents directly, and whatever that is, we'll do.
In Spartanburg, South Carolina, there was a similar situation where there was a settlement, and as a result of those negotiations there, part of that community was totally revitalized. Are there any examples that can be employed, or any models from that community that can be employed here in North Carolina?
I think the exact same thing can be applied.
Yeah, real quick. As you know, back in 2014, there was a caravan of residents and city officials, city stakeholders that attended had conversations with Spartanburg, South Carolina. Those conversations are still going on. They maximized $250 million. So that's a model that we would like to use as best practices as we continue to move on. You saw those efforts with the new bridge, with the city, also with the park. We've made a lot of upgrades, and we've had a lot of collaboration using Spartanburg as a model of best practices. And so that's one model. We've identified several others. Jacksonville, Florida is another one. So we've had those conversations where residents have been able to engage with other community residents from South Carolina, and those conversations are ongoing as well. And so we'll continue to collaborate with other cities that have faced these similar issues. But they took it as an opportunity. They took the challenge as an opportunity, and it's made the community better. And that's what you're seeing here in North Birmingham. There are positive things going. We just got to continue on with that process. So.
One last question.
Mr. Hill, you guys have said these companies have not paid the dollars. My question is, what must happen to get the money from the companies? Is an NPL designation required, or can you do that without it, and how does it work?
No.
It is not required, and we can pursue the responsible parties based on their liability. And so we are continuing to negotiate and have discussions with the responsible parties as we speak.
What's the timeline for that?
I don't have a timeline right now that I can provide you, but clearly we are engaged.
Take one last question, you all.
A lot of flooding in Washington area yesterday. Saw what Cohen.
We're here to be responsive to the residents of North Birmingham and want to make sure that they know that they're our top priority today, and that we will continue to engage on a state, local, and federal level all the resources we can to amplify the voice that this community still needs help, and that we will continue to address that and to fight for better quality air, soil for the folks in North Birmingham. It's about a public safety that is continuing to be important. So I'd like the focus to stay today on North Birmingham. And we look forward to doing a tour, and you all are welcome to join us on that tour.